All right, good morning. Welcome to Market Pulse. My name is Jimmy Bogo. This week's episode, we want to look at how do you do business with government. And I'm joined this morning by Gatweri Kithinji, who is a young entrepreneur and has had an experience working with government. Gatweri, welcome to Market Pulse.
Thank you so much, Jimmy.
All right, so first things first, as a young entrepreneur, as someone who's getting into business, how do I get into business with government?
Trading with government has been made easier for the young people, and there are certain requirements, certain papers that will just get you into trading with government. First of all, you have to incorporate your entity and have that trading license that comes from the Registrar of Services, BRS. Then you also have to have your tax compliance certificate, because trading with government will also mean you just have to pay your taxes. And then also you have to get your special category certificate, depending whether you are a youth, whether you're in women category. Then you also have to register with the AGPO, then to get your trading category.
All right, and I'm sure for a lot of our audience, one of the questions that comes to mind is, what is the cost of setting up this business? Are there any costs that I should prepare for?
Yeah. There are costs. For example, as you search for a business, as you prepare to register your company, you have to incur such name costs, where you have to give probably 4 names that you want to trade with, and the government will choose the very best for you. So a search fee is already like 950, I think, right now. And then also other fees in terms of AGPO payment. But generally, with around 5,000, you should be able to set up a company online.
But also there it comes the question of what kind of contracts can I get? For someone who just set up a business maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, what kind of contracts should I be bidding for?
There are many areas that government works with youth in. And I don't think it is limited to a particular line of trade. You can go into branding. You can go into repairs and maintenances. You can go into supply of FMCG products. So it's an array of area. It just depends on where do you want to settle, where do you want to get your market,
All right, and also just looking at the bidding process for government tenders, how long does it take, and what are some of the elements or frustrations that these young entrepreneurs are likely to face?
Probably, I would say access to smart technology, because government moved from analog way of advertising, even though it is there, mostly in newspapers. Then you have to have access to internet for you to see what government is really doing through their portals, especially the PPIP portal, Public Procurement Portal. Mm-hmm. So access to information is an impeding factor, because not everyone is able to really know what are the places, how do we really get to these opportunities and what have you, but also the requirements from government for young people to trade with them would be better if they just, push down a little bit on requirements, because not everybody is capable of affording all these papers that we are talking about.
Because I'm sure one of the frustrations that a lot of young entrepreneurs face is the bidding process and the documents that they need to submit. And so how do you surmount some of these challenges?
Reading, I think attention to detail is very key, because the moment you want to apply for certain corporate tenders, every corporates have their own way of conducting their tender processes. So I would say paying attention to detail in terms of whatever the requirements are in the tender, the legal trading requirements that are supposed to be produced for you to trade are very key. You just don't apply a tender without really going into the nitty-gritties of what are the requirements, what are the papers, what are the ratios, what are the financial requirements. All these things are things to consider in the process of it all.
All right, and for someone who's beginning to do business with government, of course, you're looking at how will I raise capital to fund this project or this tender once I win it. So for you who's done that, what was that journey like?
It wasn't easy. But I think I've already put my word out there before that partnerships when starting out a business are very crucial, because banks don't really give loans to young people. It's like you have to have money for you to access money, which is not the case for most of the young people. So I am more of a partnership person. I like involving my friends. I like involving my family. I like involving other entrepreneurs in what I'm doing, and maybe exploring the basket of capital that way. I find it easier because it's really difficult to move things when you are a single character in the play, unless you have the resources.
There is a debate or a perception that for you to do business with government, you must know someone. How true or untrue is that statement?
I cannot quite give a definite answer. I would say trying to network to reach opportunities is crucial. It sets chaff from the rice. You know what that means. You have to go after opportunities, because opportunities will not get you when you just don't go after them. So I believe knowing people helps, Also, it's not really mandatory, because the government is really open in its procurement processes. And so I think just giving it a try over and over and over again, you always get yourself pre-qualified in these institutions.
All right, and it's a good thing that you bring in the element of pre-qualification, because at the beginning of the year, a lot of young people will be trying to do business with government. Is that the right time to try and get those tenders, or should you start at the end of the financial year towards the beginning of the new financial year?
At the end of every financial year, right now, say, these are the times. Most of the institutions are preparing to pre-qualify new suppliers in their database. So if you didn't have contracts which are running past this year, then you have to be on the lookout of institutions which are already now advertising for pre-qualification. And these will go on during this time until when the budget is pronounced and when institutions prepare to procure. So this has to be an ongoing kind of system until end of June, beginning of July.
All right, and when we started this conversation, you talked about compliance and regulations. So apart from just having your tax certificates, what are the other documents that you must have when bidding for government tenders?
I would say it helps being part of other professional bodies. This builds your portfolio. Also, just what other levels of training as a director have you had? How well are you positioned to handle a contract with discipline and quality? So training, it's good to take other forms of training in business, other forms of certifications in accounting. It helps you when you're preparing your tender, being member of trading bodies, KEPSA, what have you, all these private sector bodies, if you're a small entity. It really helps in terms of supporting your bid, in terms of you're qualified, you can deliver, and you deserve a shot.
Now, the biggest fear for a lot of young entrepreneurs when it comes to doing business with government is the payment process. How much of a headache is that? Because there is a claim that you have to chase the tender, then you have to come back again and chase the payment.
There's an element of truth in that. It's not easy. But mostly, for me, I sit down with the people who are liable when signing the contract. So, for example, I want to know, is there money that has been set aside for these projects? What will be the timelines of payment? And these I have to get from the CEO, from the CFO, from the people I'm coordinating the project with. We always have to be in tandem. Let me deliver, but also pay on time. Because again, you have liabilities and you have creditors. You don't disappoint your business partners. So always it's good to just sit down with the people who are awarding you this contract and have that pact of payment and surety that things are gonna flow at the end of the day.
All right,
Yeah.
from your experience, do you think it's right for a young entrepreneur or someone who's at the very entry level of doing business with government to take on so many contracts? Maybe you have 3 or 4 contracts with different county governments, or should I focus on one and then deliver that, then get to another one?
You know, in business, taste and appetite are different. And to someone with not a lot of resources, a step at a time, a biting in the mouth at a time. You could take so much and get frustrated at the end of the day, which is very dangerous for any trader. So I believe in executing a project at a time, but also if the pockets can allow, it's not bad to accumulate your contracts, because you also now create multiple avenues of revenue at the end of the day.
All right, so just speaking of these contracts, what are the type of contracts, and in terms of the capital that goes into that contract, that you would advise anyone looking to tender for government deals to start with?
For starters, I think below 500,000 contracts, many here and there, are okay. Don't kill yourself with government contracts. Also, it's just good to do many little things and expect many little payments than take huge projects, which probably will exhaust you financially, and you're not even able to deliver on the requirements of the tender. So I think it's good to just play a little bit, but then widen the scope.
All right, because again, we are really, and this is something that I'm sure you've seen, and we've done a lot of stories about young entrepreneurs getting into business with government and living in debt, because once that payment is delayed, then now you're frustrated. So how do we navigate that environment?
There has, according to my thinking, there has to be more intervention between the trading bodies and the institutions that are financing businesses in our country. For example, if you're trading, if you have one of the government institutions like Kenya Communications Authority, have members, have their vendors. You know, you can have institutions collaborating with banks and having trade agreements. Like, look, if our institutions come to ABSA, if our vendors comes to ABSA, then these are our payments agreements. Can you please advance facilities to our vendors, and within this time, we will have paid. They know those kind of agreements between corporates and banks and other microfinancing institutions can really take off the burden of financing contracts from the youth.
All right, Agatari, as we come to almost the tail end of this conversation, there are those mistakes that I'm sure you made when you were starting off that maybe you would want to advise other young entrepreneurs who are seeking to get into government business not to do. What are some of these?
I would say be careful of the kind of partnerships I think you're forming in business, because you might be the bearer of a vision, but you can never really sell a vision to the people around you. You could get into unpromising partnerships. People maybe who are not willing to walk the mile. People are not willing to walk the journey. Dishonesty in business. You know, you have to take your time, evaluate the kind of people you're going into business with. And, you know, and also vet the kind of institutions that you're going into business with, because also, you know, we have malicious institutions. You do business and you just never get proof of payments from these institutions or something like that. So you just have to be keen, you know.
All right, and as a young business owner, who are the key players that I must have on my team? Do I need a finance individual? Do I need someone with a background in law when going through some of these contractual obligations? Or what are the people that I must have when starting this business?
I like having procurement experts around me, people who know how to go into contracts. You can have lawyers, you know, who can actually help you just disintegrate the nitty-gritties of the contracts, so that you just don't bind yourself into things you might regret into later. It's also just important to have a financial, this is like the bank, a partner bank, because with most institutions you have to prove your banking history, which can come in handy when you need to get like recommendations from your bank. So having a partner bank is very, very crucial as well.
All right, so Gatweri, lastly, how do we navigate the bureaucracy that comes with doing business with government?
Negotiating, you know, for me, I believe that we might not be able to do big things at a time, but we can be able to do small things in a great way. So negotiating in every contract, negotiating in every level of business to ease requirements and also to ease the modality of working is very crucial. And I think it would go a long way into empowering other young entrepreneurs.
Gatweri, thanks so much for making time to be on the program today, and of course we'll be looking forward to more engagements with you in the coming days. That is Gatweri Kithinji, who's a director at HMG Works, and that is all we have for you on this episode of Market Pulse with me, Jimmy Mbogo. Let's do this again, same time, same place next week.